Hey friends, it's Quenby, the Grateful Queen, here on YouTube. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. If you're new, I'm Quenby and I'm a part-time reseller. I've been selling on eBay for 10 years. I've been on Posh a few years. I also now sell to Thredup and I sell digital products over on Etsy. There's links to all of those stores in my description section below. Today's video is about Poshmark return cases. My plan in the video is to share with you everything about my recent experience when I had a return case opened. I wanted to say against me, but that sounds a little harsh, but that's kind of the way people say it. I had a case opened against me on Poshmark. I had a case opened on Poshmark and I wanted to share the process, everything that happened in my experience, because I have learned so much about return cases on Poshmark, and I want to shout out the reselling community here because I posted about this over on Instagram. The posts are still up, so you're welcome to go over there and read through. There's such good suggestions on how people manage their account on Poshmark when it comes to cases, but also some other things. I'm going to read some of the helpful comments on that post, but you're welcome, of course, to go over there and look at it. There's over 100 comments as of today. I'm going to use my phone because I was able to screenshot a lot of my communication with Poshmark regarding this case. The reason why this case was so interesting for me and I wanted to share it was because technically it was a case about fit. A buyer opened a return case because she didn't like the fit of the item. And Poshmark doesn't accept returns for fit. It's in their policy, their return policy in black and white. So the case was about this item. It was a new with tag, Free People skirt. It was a sample item. And in my description, I listed it as new with tag, size extra small skirt. I also provide measurements. I always provide measurements and I always write measurements are approximate. You'll see that that's kind of a key point as we move forward discussing this. Oh, I want to say one thing first, friends. Those of you who watch my channel already know this, but on this channel, I keep it very real. I'm authentic. I'm transparent. I like to share as much as I can with you, but it's also important to me to keep things positive. So this will not be a video where I'm calling out any buyer by name or I'm slamming anybody or I'm bashing Poshmark at all. If you're looking for one of those like bashing people videos, this isn't the video for you. Not my style. Yes, I put the bloopers at the end of the video because the whole video could be a blooper and it's pretty funny, so I'll see you at the end. Okay, so the first thing that happened was the buyer opened a case. And I was surprised, like I said, because it was a new with tag item. So I wasn't sure what the case was going to be about. I wasn't able to screenshot what the buyer sent me because once the case was closed, and spoiler alert, I was able to get this case reversed. So maybe you can use some of the information in this video if you're trying to do that as well. But I'm not able to, once the case was closed, I can't access the case anymore. So I'm just going to tell you as best I can what she said. So her first comment was that this didn't fit. She's always an extra small and Free People, and this does not seem like an extra small. Her next comment was some pictures of her measuring the item on her bed. It was sort of hard to see. It was sort of messy, and she had a measuring tape there. So here's one of the key points of this. I chose not to comment on the case. If you don't know, when a return case is opened against a seller on Poshmark, the buyer puts their comments and they can put photos, and I could also put comments and put photos, but I chose not to. And here's why. Hear me out. The reason why I chose not to was, one, because I thought there was no way that she would win this case because it was so obviously, clearly a fit issue, and Poshmark's policy says that they don't accept returns for fit. So I thought I don't even need to comment. Secondly, my kind of thinking on Poshmark has been, I pay Poshmark 20% fees on everything that I sell. Those are high fees. One of the things my fees cover is things like customer service and return cases. Poshmark reviews each one, which I actually love. It's not like a blanket automatic policy of return acceptance like eBay has. I've always been really happy with Poshmark's return policy. So then I get this email from Poshmark, and I'll put it up on the screen, but I'll read it. Dear the Grateful Queen, we are reaching out to let you know that after careful review, we've approved the buyer's request to return Nude Tag Free People Extra Small Isa Mini Skirt Olive Military because the size does not match the listing description. The buyer received the following. Measurements of received item are slightly off from listing measurements. Sellers is welcome to relist this. Going forward, we recommend including the labeled sizing and any related measurements in the listing description. Rest assured, we understand that this was likely an honest oversight, and we know these things happen. Once you receive the returned order, we'll be refunding the buyer. If you notice any issues with your order, when you receive it back, please go to your order in the app or website. And I was just like, what? Now, returns are normal in reselling, especially clothing, especially on eBay. I get returns. I have a 3% return rate, which is approximately what most people have. But on Poshmark, I very rarely get returns in all the years I've been selling on there. So I was a little bit surprised. So I put it out to the Instagram reselling community, and this is the post that I put out. I shared that note and I said, what am I missing here? It was my understanding that Poshmark doesn't accept returns for fit. Was there a change in policy? This is a Nude Tag item. I listed it with a size tag photo and measurements. Return cases are part of business, so I'm not bent out of shape about it. I'm just confused. I chose not to comment on the case. I pay Poshmark 20% in fees and think case resolution is covered in that high percent. And I thought this was a cut and dried fit issue, so no need for me to comment. What do you do? Do you comment on cases? Have you experienced this? Is Posh accepting returns for fit now? And I got, like I said, there's over 100 comments on this, and I'm just going to share some of them with you because they were great, and there's a lot to learn from this. So here's a comment from Curvy Posher 43. I just had this happen to me for the first time a week ago. I always just respond to Poshmark, never the buyer, and I'm always very professional, but in this case, I knew she was absolutely wrong. And a fellow Posher, Live, Love, Resell, gave me some great advice. She said, just say Poshmark doesn't allow returns for fit. I listed the size according to the label. Measurements are an extra courtesy, not a requirement. I'll leave this with Poshmark to handle. I thought that was a really great idea. Now listen, friends, there are going to be a lot of different ideas that I'm going to share with you. Just remember, you don't have to agree or disagree. It's your business. You can do what you want. Shop Hope by Heather said, I honestly think it depends on the Poshmark reviewers. I have seen where some reward both sides. I do comment when it comes to measurements because I remind Poshmark that we don't take it for fit. I always say measurements are approximate. I comment and then I don't ever reply back to anything unless it's Poshmark. This person said, I actually had a buyer tell me that their shoes were too wide for them. They were Birkenstocks. And I said size was estimated because it was totally worn off. Poshmark ruled with me. I always say measurements are approximate now. And this person says, and this is why I no longer add measurements. I will give them if asked, but after having Poshmark allow returns for fit because of measurements in my listing, I no longer do it. Casa Chick Store said, I've had this happen on Posh. I always include photos of the size. However, if the buyer claims your measurements are even a tiny bit off, they'll rule that it's not as described. At least you aren't out on shipping both ways like you are when an item not as described case is open on eBay. This person says, I always comment on the case and will include a photo of the listed measurements and the Poshmark return policy. So many people said, right back with the Poshmark return policy. Now, it wasn't necessarily so important for me personally to fight this $30 sale. I just kind of wanted to see the process through and get some clarity. Like, what is the deal, Poshmark? Are you accepting returns for fit or not? Some people are saying they don't even want to include the measurements because they're afraid the measurements will be used against them. So I ended up, the case was closed. It was ruled in the buyer's favor. I do want to point out that the buyer is a fellow seller because I went and looked. I clicked on her picture and she's a seller. She has a store. She's sold a lot of things. She's gotten feedback on there. So I don't know if this was something that she understood that Poshmark would do if she commented on the measurements being inaccurate. Somebody gave me the best line. I can't find it right now, but they said, I stand by my measurements. And I just love that line. So I ended up writing back to Poshmark. I copied and pasted their return policy, and I did say, as a professional seller, I stand by my measurements. You guys, this is a score. It's like a square item. It's a little bit across the waist and the length. Like it's not a difficult item to measure. I did not make mistakes with my measurements. It was very simple. This is the letter that I wrote to Poshmark. Dear Poshmark, thank you for your case review. I have to admit, I'm very surprised by your decision to side with the buyer in this case. This is clearly a return for fit, and Poshmark policy states that Posh does not accept returns for fit. I'm copying your own policy here for your review. In which I did, and it says, a buyer may open a case with us if they don't receive their item, or if the item they receive is not as described within the listing. Returns are not currently offered for fit issues. You no longer want the item or delayed delivery. And I said, I listed the size according to the label. It is an extra small. Measurements are extra and only provided as a courtesy, not a requirement. I stand by my measurements. I love that line. I am a professional seller, and measuring a simple skirt is not difficult, and my measurements are indeed correct. I can wait to receive the item back if you prefer, and I can open a counter case with my photos of the accurate measurement that I listed in the description section. Please let me know if there's been a change in policy. And Poshmark is now accepting returns for fit on the platform. Thank you. So my other option would have been, when the item was returned, I could have opened a case on her case. It's called like a counter case. And I could have shown my measurements. And then they wrote back and said, hi Quimby, thank you for reaching out to us, and we apologize for the frustration this order has caused. In reviewing the return request, we were able to cross-reference the measurement photos provided by the buyer and compared them to the original listing description. Because they did vary slightly, the return request was approved. Upon further review, we do see that the buyer's photos appear to be incomplete with the end of the measuring tool out of the photo frame. I'm like, she put these pictures up and I'm like, they're on your messy bed, they're kind of blurry, and you can't even see the whole measuring tape. Like, what was Posh thinking? I couldn't help thinking that. Because we cannot guarantee the accuracy of the measurements they provided, we're moving forward with releasing your earnings. Yay! Yes! While also refunding the buyer as a courtesy. Now, that is so generous of Poshmark. So they refunded me and they refunded the buyer. Who does that? I love that about Poshmark. That's one of the things that was hard for me about this, was because I felt like Poshmark is a platform where they've had the sellers back. I sell on eBay. I've sold there for 10 years. I love eBay, but they do not have the sellers back when it comes to returns. They just don't. eBay 99.9% of the time sides with the buyer. Poshmark hasn't been like that. So I always felt like they did have my back, and it was sort of like unsettling, like, oh, are they changing? A lot of people are worried that Poshmark is changing and they're going to start accepting these kinds of returns, and it's like a little upsetting. It is what it is. I'm still going to sell on there, but I really like that they kind of came through.
Yay! Yay, Poshmark!
So it kind of worked out a win-win. The buyer didn't lose out. I didn't lose out. Poshmark was supportive to both of us. Overall, a win-win. So I want to end with this comment from my friend Leslie at A Reseller's Passion, who I just admire, and it's a little bit different, and I think it's really good too. And she says, I personally accept all returns. When a case is opened, I send a message right away and ask Poshmark to issue the return. If I sell it once, I can sell it again. When I want to return something to the store, I want good customer service. That's what I provide. Each person has to do what works best for them. I often make more money the second time I sell the item. So it's your business. You get to decide. I think that is so ethical and lovely. Maybe that would work for you. Maybe it wouldn't. It's your business. You get to do you and do what works. How do you handle it? Are you going to comment back on all cases? Are you going to ask Poshmark to just accept the return? No hassle, no problem. Are you going to do measurements? How do you handle it? This is a great forum for us to talk and learn from each other. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Love you guys. See you in the next video. Bye. Okay. Okay, you guys, I seriously, sometimes I'm just wishing you were here with me as I'm trying to make these videos behind the scenes so we could just laugh, because it's just ridiculousness trying to do these over here. I'm like, there's no lights on my camera. What's going on? There's no battery in it. Like you charged the battery and you forgot to put it in. Whatever. Quemby. I'm so jazzed up about this video. I've just been like wanting to make it. Okay, let's do it. I think my head's cut off, but maybe it's okay. So the way this whole thing went down, I really learned a lot. So I want to share it with you kind of step by step what happened and what we can all learn and take from this. I feel like I have a weird curl thing. My hair is soaking wet from the shower. You can't always just count, I guess, on extra small. Do I want to go into that? Probably not. Sorry. 9 minutes already? What the heck have I been talking about? But I always love hearing what other people do because then they can help. So, yeah, what else was I going to say about that? There was something good in there. Because they did vary slightly, the return request was